Hello, folks. This is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This footage, as you might have guessed, is taken from Headwinder's perspective. I am playing alongside him in a double-up game, and this was a game where Headwinder's point of view was a little bit more interesting than the one that I have. He ended up playing a team composition that I don't really have any footage of, and that is a heavy vertical Sorcerers team composition. It's not where he starts out in this game, but it is where he ends up going in this game, is going into heavy Sorcerers. In fact, Sorcerers are pretty strong in the current makeup of Teamfight Tactics, and so we'll have a chance to look at, they were basically buffed, they weren't played at all, and then they were buffed a whole bunch of times until they eventually reached the point at which it was worthwhile to play them. So we'll talk a little bit about this team composition, what makes it work. Spoiler alert, what makes it work in the current version of the game is typically getting an emblem so that you can go up to 8 Sorcerers. It's kind of where the build pops off. And just take a look at this overall team setup. Now, by the way, the most interesting part about this early game is that Headwinder had 3 Luxes in his first shop and then 2 more Luxes in his next shop. So he's already on 5 Luxes this early in the game, which is pretty ridiculous to have 5 Luxes on 1-4. And I also had some Luxes in my store as well, so I was like, all right, well, we'll just grab the Luxes here. Maybe we can look to make 3-star Lux and see what we can do from there. We were playing this game pretty late at night after the baby that I have at home here went to sleep. And by the way, there's another Lux. He now has 6 Luxes. But we were doing this pretty late at night, and it ended up being a really interesting ending to this game. But anyway, let's look at the first augment here. So let's see, there's the Aurelia Hero augment, which is not very good in the current makeup of the game. We'll see. Let's see, the delayed start, sell your board and bench. I would probably not take that one. Let's see. And then there's power up. Your next augment's 1 tier higher. Okay, that's not a bad one to pick at all. It tends to be better if the next augment is gold and then it becomes prismatic. It's not quite so good if the next augment's silver and then it becomes gold. All right, well, there's the 3-star Lux. Headwinder had 6 Luxes, and then I was able to get a 2-star Lux as well. I was like, all right, well, let's just go ahead and send that, because why the heck not? And he's going to have a 3-star Lux on 2-1. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't really have any Lux items. Like, these are definitely not the items that you would want to put on Lux. A bow and a cloak. Yeah, you can't really make anything that's all that useful for Lux on there, but you have to think having a 3-star Lux is probably pretty good at this stage of the game. And Headwinder was trying to figure out where the heck he was going to go from this point in time. And I believe at this point in time, his perspective was he thought he would look to go into Academy, because he doesn't have a 3-star Lux. And Lux being Sorc and Academy for her traits, it seemed as though Academy might not be the worst play to play into. As far as what I have, I actually got in this game, I think I had 2 Urgots drop on the first minion round. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll look to play Urgot and Tristana, because the Urgot Tristana reroll into more Artillerists is actually a pretty strong board in this particular patch. But then we were looking around the lobby, and it turned out that the other people in the lobby, there was another person who already had a 2-star Urgot, and they had Pandora's Bench. So I was like, oh, okay. It seems very unlikely I'm going to be able to reroll that particular person. And then another person, in addition, was looking to play Urgot as well. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be 3-way contested on Urgot. So in the end, I would look to pivot into a scrap-heavy setup instead for this game and just play heavier into vertical scrap. But because I've played vertical, I've put some scrap games on YouTube already. That's why the footage I thought would be more interesting to show from Headwinder's perspective. He's actually going to sell to get up to 20 gold here. So he's going to be pretty wealthy in this setup right here. And then he also has some additional Sentinels on the bench. And then he also has, a Zyra on the bench, because that could give him Sorc traits. But yeah, the 3-star Lux is kind of very, very, very slowly killing things. Very, very slowly killing things, because when she uses her ability, she's able to get that. And at this point in time, Headwinder picks up a Tristana because he was trying to grab Triss from me, since I still thought I was going to be playing into that board. And he'll put the Zyra on the board for Sorc trait. Okay, so if you're curious about what the Sorc trait does, while we have a minute here, let's go ahead and cover this. This is the big ability power granting trait in this set. There tends to be one of these in every single set of TFT. There's usually like one trait that gives health. There's like usually like one trait that gives mana and usually one trait that gives ability power, and that's what Sorc trait does. So, Sorc trait, your team gains 10 ability power, so you always get that. You always get the flat 10 AP for the whole team. And then the second half of the trait is Sorcerers gain more. So Sorcs 2, Sorcerers gain 20 ability power instead of 10. So the team-wide aspect is not especially great getting... And by the way, here's the person who already has the 2-star Urgot and Pandora's Bench. So it's like, yeah, we're never going to be able to out-reroll someone who has 2-star Urgot this early and Pandora's Bench. But anyway, on the Sorc trait, as you see, Headwinder can't overcome the 2-star Urgot this early. You get 20 ability power for Sorc 2, and then it goes up from there as you put more units in. It's all the way up to 150 ability power at Sorc 8, and there's actually a secondary function as well that abilities reduce the target's damage by 25% for 3 seconds on Sorc 8. So like there's this huge jump from going from Sorc 4 to Sorc 6, and then another huge jump going up to Sorc 8. This is actually going to change in the next patch. They're actually removing the Sorc 8 tier, and it's just going to be Sorc 6 is going to be the highest tier. So that's probably a good thing because it's been really difficult to balance this trait throughout the course of TFT Set 13's history so far. The big issue with Sorc trait is, the biggest problem is there's not a lot of frontline for the trait. It lacks frontline is an issue. And on top of that, the way that the team comp plays out is it's just you kind of need to get to the Sorc 8, which requires an emblem. And like if you don't get to that, it's pretty useless. But if you do get to that, then all of a sudden there's like this huge jump and it becomes a much, much stronger trait. All right, anyway, so Headwinder's looking to make something. He decides to make the static shiv. He was able to use that bow. Admittedly, there's not a lot of good uses for bows in a Sorcerer's team composition, although I believe he was still trying to play into Academy at this point in time. But yeah, there's not a lot of good uses for bows in spellcasting team compositions. Usually the things you want to do is you either want to make a Gnasher's Tooth or you want to make a Static Shiv, and both of them are pretty good options. This is not a bad item because this will hopefully allow his Lux to get him through kind of the early game. Again, Headwinder doesn't really have much of anything except the 3-star Lux, but he's kind of relying on that Lux to win these fights for him. Lux can certainly pop people when she gets that enhanced auto attack. By the way, I know I've done some videos with Lux before, but it's worth covering what her ability does just because she's kind of the one unit that's doing everything on Headwinder's board right now. Her ability is Prismatic Barrier. She grants a shield to the lowest health ally, and her next auto attack deals bonus magic damage. So you're seeing a lot of that in these fights. Lux tosses out she tosses out the shield. Then when the shield comes back, her next auto attack deals a lot of damage. And because she's such an early 3-star unit, that next bonus magic damage, the base value is 900, and it's probably a little bit higher than that because she has Sorc trait in. So if that scales off AP in the normal way, she's doing like 1,000 damage on that enhanced auto attack. So yeah, again, not a ton of damage over on Headwinder's board right now, but he does have the static shiv to reduce the magic resistance of the enemy team, give Lux a little bit of additional attack speed. And you can see after she tosses out the shield, that next auto attack does pop people pretty good over on that other side. So there goes the shield, next auto attack, boop, 1,000 damage. So it's a little bit unfortunate that Headwinder faced the Urgot board with Pandora's Bench right in the middle of this stage because he went 2 wins, lost 2 wins. It always feels frustrating when that happens because you won 4 out of 5 rounds, but you were never able to go on like a win streak. Always very, very annoying when that happens, but it is what it is. You can't control who you are up against. You can tell that Headwinder was not planning on going into a vertical Sorc board at this point in time because he had a Vladimir in his shop and he did not look to pick that unit up. Anyway, I am going to send him another Leona. That puts him on Leona pair because we were still planning on playing into Academy at this point in time, but this is when I did the pivot into full on scrap because Headwinder had taken that gangplank off the initial after the stage 2 carousel, and he sends that over to me, and that's going to allow me to make 4 scrap because I already had the other early scrap units. I had the Trundle, I had the Powder, and then who's the 2-cost scrap? I had the Ziggs. I think I had 2 Ziggs in my shop, and I was like, double Ziggs. Okay, now's the time to make the pivot into just full on scrap. By the way, a lot of gold drops here, not too many items. Another tier is really nice though, because this is a spellcasting team composition. It's going to require tiers. By the way, there's another Vlad. Will he pick up this Vlad in the store? Just out of curiosity. Can definitely do Shojin, which I think is a good call here. And then he has the option to make some frontline items. And none of those Academy items are actually not great for this game. What is it? A Hand of Justice? No, did not pick up the Vlad here. I think he will pick up the Swain, though. Yeah. Swain puts Conqueror trait in play, and he's actually going to play backline Swain, which, again, I think makes a lot of sense here because backline Swain is going to add damage. He kind of has enough frontline right now. What Headwinder needs is more damage, so he'll play backline Swain, excuse me, for the time being. Now, normally when you're playing a full Sorc composition, you would play frontline Swain because the biggest weakness of a Sorc's comp is it lacks frontline. By the way, it looks like the video recording paused here for a sec. Okay, good. Thank goodness that stopped. I actually have not watched this recording all the way through, although of course I was playing in this game. So, like I said, the biggest issue for any spellcasting team composition, and this has historically been the case in other TFT sets as well, is getting enough frontline to be safe. By the way, here is the next augment, and it's a little unfortunate. So everybody else is getting a silver augment, and Headwinder's getting a gold augment. You really would have preferred for this to be a gold augment for everyone else and a prismatic for him. So he already made a Bramble Vest, so he's going to go ahead and take the Bramble Vest augment because he already has one. This is like the super Bramble Vest. It does additional damage. So he's also going to get a free Rage Blade by putting in Academy trait. And then puts the second Bramble Vest. Boy, it's a shame that Bramble Vest wasn't a sponsored item for the Academy this game. That would have been really nice, even if the odds of that are fairly low. That would have been pretty nice to have happen. But his board definitely got stronger by adding the second Bramble Vest. He has now the double super Bramble Vest, so he's super strong against physical damage teams, not so good against magic damage teams. And then also is able to get the Rage Blade in play. Rage Blade always has good synergy with Spear Shojin because you attack faster with the Rage Blade, and then each auto attack produces more mana generation. And as of right now, Lux doesn't really need more AP. Lux kind of does enough damage on her auto attacks. The biggest thing that Lux needs, as you see Headwinder peek at my board, is she just needs to get her casts off more often. So the Shojin, the Static Shiv, and then the Rage Blade do have some synergy here. I mean, will this scale well into late game? No, it will not scale great into late game. But for the time being, it should be good enough to get through the mid game. And then, by the way, he sells both Zyras. So again, you can see he's really not planning on playing into vertical Sorcs at this point in time. You obviously would not be selling all these Sorc units if that were the case. But so far, it seems to be working. Headwinder's been winning a good number of these rounds. He also just got the 2 gold cash out for Conqueror trait. Anyway, to get back to the point I was trying to make before, big issue with spellcasting team compositions in TFT, it's always frontline. Like, that's their biggest weakness, is there's not a lot of frontline if your team composition is all spellcasters. And by the way, it looks like he went up to 4 Sentinel here. I actually think it's better to play the Swain here. I don't think the 4 Sentinels is really doing all that much, but I could be wrong. So when you play these comps, typically you have to play Swain as your front line if you're going to be building into a full vertical Sorc team composition. And that's because all the other Sorcs are your units like Lux and Zyra and Zoe, etc. Like, these units just don't really tank especially well. So you really need to get frontline units, something that can stand up there and tank. And like, if you're going to be playing 8 Sorcerers, that doesn't leave a lot of room for other units that have tank traits. Like, none of the Sorcerers really have tank traits, except I guess Vladimir, because Vladimir does have Watcher trait. But like, I mean, I guess you could play him with like Garen, maybe. I guess, but like, that's not really the way that people typically play this. The main way people play a full vertical Sorc is Swain is your main source of tankiness. Swain provides the front line, and then you add in Elise because if you play the Swain, you play the Vladimir, who has Black Rose, you play LeBlanc, who has Black Rose, and then if you add in Elise, you can get the Scion for a little bit of additional front line. Anyway, Headwinder did go ahead and take a Rod there. I'm assuming he's going to use that for Ionic Spark, just because if you're in a spellcasting team composition, that's always a good item to make, but perhaps a hold for something else. He does already have the Static Shiv, so there's less of a need to make, there's much less of a need to make an Ionic Spark. And then he's going to go ahead and level and put in the Swain over there. Okay, so his board's pretty solid here. 4 Sentinel, 3 Academy, 2 Conqueror, 2 Sorcerers. Again, at this point in time, the goal is still to play into Academy. The big issue, though, is none of the Academy-sponsored items are items that you would want on Heimerdinger. What is it? It's like a Crown Guard and a Hand of Justice. And what was the third one? I'm trying to remember. Oh, and a Rage Blade. I mean, it's like the Rage Blade's pretty good on Ezreal. And, like, I guess Hand of Justice can go on Jace or Ezreal, but, like, none of these items are any good on Heimerdinger. And Heimerdinger is supposed to be the main carry for an Academy team composition because it's just too hard to get up to Jace, who's a 5 cost. I mean, like, if you can hit Jace 2-star, then that's great, but it's really hard to get up to the Jace 2-star. And like, so you really want one of the sponsored Academy items to be something that Heimerdinger can use, like a blue buff or a Jeweled Gauntlet or a Death Cap or something like that. So not having any of them is a little bit rough in a spellcasting composition like this that Headwinder's been building. And he needs to build a spellcasting composition of some kind because he's made a Static Shiv and a Spear of Shojin. So he has to do something that's spellcasting related. He can't go into like full AD from here. It just doesn't fit with the items. All right, now this is, again, where I think he started to consider going more heavily into Sorks because he got an early Zoe and he also got a Nami here. By the way, the advantage of leveling to level 7 early, if you noticed, Headwinder went to level 7 right after the stage 3 carousel. That gave him better odds to see 4 costs, and it was paid off in this game because he was able to get up to, he was able to find that early Zoe. So this is when it started to look like it would make maybe more sense to go up and play Vertical Sorcerers because like he already has a Spear of Shojin. He can make a Jeweled Gauntlet here if he wants to, and like those are considered to be Zoe's like core items. As that Gangplank comes over to my board to make 2-star GP. I feel like my board is just kind of like hanging in there, treading water, whereas Headwinder's board is the one that's actually been strong in these fights. And again, it's largely off of just having that 3-star Lux. Problem is, as we've said before, Lux is going to fall off as the game goes on because she's a 1-star, she's a 1-cost unit. Even as a 3-star, she doesn't really do enough damage. Outside of that lone hero Lux nonsense that was like a buggy interaction that wasn't supposed to happen. So anyway, Lux is still killing things, and that's working fine for now. But that will get outscaled over time as this game goes on. Still, we've been pretty lucky. We've been able to preserve an awful lot of health in these rounds, which is always good in double up. We are worried about some of the other teams, though, because they are going to scale, and they're going to get a lot scarier as this game goes on. By the way, there's another Nami as well. So some of the Sorks are definitely starting to show up. But what's really going to start swinging things for Headwinder is what's going to happen on this minion round and then immediately thereafter. Because we are in a Crabbrave lobby. I should have mentioned that before. Or, excuse me, we're a Scuttle Puddle lobby, not Crabbrave. We're in the version where you do not have to fight the giant crab on the end of stage 5, but the crabs do give bonus loot. So it's a high econ lobby. Teams are going to cap out at a high level because there's just more money floating around. And sometimes you get stuff like this. Oh, hello. What's that? There is a spatula and a reforger that just popped up in Headwinder's shop. So you cannot make a Sorcerer's emblem with a spatula, but you can make one with a frying pan. So he's going to go ahead, reforge that into the frying pan, and then the frying pan plus the rod makes a Sorcerer's emblem. So it was like, oh, okay. And this was definitely decision time to decide if he was going to go into full-on Sorks because there's a Heimerdinger in his shop. But know that he's going to make the decision right now. He's going to pivot into going vertical Sorks, and you definitely want to get some of these items over there onto the Zoe. Of course, by making the Sork emblem, he wasn't able to make a Jeweled Gauntlet, but that's still very worthwhile. Gnash's Tooth seems like a good choice. There's another tier here for something. You could also always pop off the Spear of Shojin from Lux. Although I don't know if I don't know which is better, the 3-star Lux or the 1-star Zoe. Instead, he opts to make the Adaptive Helm, which is not bad either. Not quite as good as like a Shojin or a. I guess it's probably better than a blue buff on Zoe. Zoe's mana cost is 80, so blue buff would not be that good on her. But Shojin's probably a little bit better, but Adaptive Helm is certainly not bad, and that is what he had the items for anyway. And now check out what Headwinder's going to get from this next upcoming round here, because we are going to get another augment. And it turns out this one's prismatic. And oh, well, that is a Sorcerer's Crown. Okay. So he was previously at 2 Sorks. And he also managed to find a Zyra. And he had a Zyra left over and he had a Vladimir. So he's going to put these extra books on his front line on the Rel and on the Leona. And okay, he just immediately went up to 8 Sorks like that. So he was on 2 Sorks for most of stage 2 and 3, and then 4 Sorks on 4-1, and then he jumped from 4 Sorks to 8 Sorks instantly. I was like, what the heck? What just happened here? And now just like that, he's on 8 Sorks, and it's a very odd 8 Sorks board because he still has these Sentinels that are like left over in transition from like the previous build that he was doing. So he still has Leona and still has, who else is up there? Rel on the front lines. Like, these are not really units that you would want to turn into Sorcerers. Not normally. I don't think it makes a ton of sense playing these 2 units as Sorcerers. But yeah, anyway, like I said, typically if you want to play an 8 Sorcs board, there's only 7 Sorcerer units, by the way, so you need at least 1 emblem to play 8 Sorcs. He hasn't even found LeBlanc yet, and he can play 8 Sorcerers. Typically, you would play the 7 Sorcs, and then you'd stick the emblem on another unit, and the one that makes the most sense, as I said, is Elise. She will give you Black Rose with LeBlanc and Vladimir, and she also will provide Form Swapper trait for Swain. So Elise is pretty clearly one of the units you'd want. I don't think you would typically play the Leona and the Rel on this board, but at least for the time being, that's what Headwinder has, and so that's what he's going to be looking to play. He does hit the 2-star Swain. At some point, he'll have to consider if he wants to start moving some of the tank items over to the Swain, because, as always, the biggest issue for these Sorc boards is not having enough front line. Now, that said, he did hit 2-star Zoe pretty early on. He found one early in the shop, and then I sent one with the Champion Send, because this is double up mode, and then he found one more. So he's just about ready, I think, to look to just go level 9 from here, because he has 2-star Zoe. He still has the 3-star Lux. He was able to hit 2-star Swain without too much trouble. And 8 Sorcerers is a lot of power for your board, like an awful lot of power for your board. I'll talk about what this trait, specifically the trait does in terms of ability power after we do this stage 4 carousel right here, because we are going to be the last 2 picks. And by the way, Headwinder's actually on a 10-match winning streak. It hasn't felt like his board was that strong, but he is in fact on a 10-match winning streak. It's like, so okay, I guess he just continues to win all these rounds. But yeah, I mean, we certainly will take it because we've got an awful lot of health banked. We do have to be concerned about some of these teams because that team on 18 HP is setting up a monster cash out from their Chem Baron. They've been lost streaking with Chem Baron, and they're going for the 600 stack cash out, which is going to be absolute nightmare when they end up getting that, which I think is any round now, because we can't really stop them from getting it. That's the reason why Chem Baron trade is so frustrating. You can't kind of stop them from it. By the way, there he's going to get a 2-star Rel because that's his cash out from getting 35 Conqueror stacks. And then over there, I'm playing 4 Artillerist, 4 Scrap, and I'm looking to go up to 6 Scrap where I'll dump the 4 Artillerist. All right, he's going to send the Echo over to me because I need Echo for Scrap. And then I'll be looking for Rumble after that. And yeah, I think he can probably look to go to level 9 pretty soon here. It looks like his board, I mean, I just don't really see what he'd be rolling for here on level 8. I mean, I guess it could hit one more Nami, but that doesn't seem especially great here. And yeah, I mean, he just has better odds to hit a lot of this stuff if he goes to level 9. All right, so 8 Sorcs. I mentioned that this provides an awful lot of stats. By the way, nice Elise stun from that other player. Managed to get in the back line and do some damage there. So as you play deeper into the Sorc trait, it's lots of ability power, as I said. Sorc 2 is only 20 ability power, but Sorc 4 is 55. Then there's a huge jump to 105 at Sorc 6. And currently Sorc 8 is 150 ability power. Yeah, 150 ability power. That's pretty insane. And now we need to look for an anomaly here before I continue with this discussion. It often is a good idea to give the anomaly to... Oh, wow, that's pretty good. When an ally dies, gain 50% of their current mana. By the way, that anomaly used to give 100% of current mana. Yeah, it used to give 100%. Then it was nerfed down to 80%, and now it's been nerfed down to 50%. And it's still pretty good. Every time an ally dies, 50% of their mana goes over to Zoe, so she can keep casting more often. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Can you imagine when that was 100%, how broken that was? Yeah, the anomalies, we've never had augment data. We never had data for the anomalies because Riot has tried to make it so you can't see the data for these, but like they were comically unbalanced when they came out, and some of the ones were infinitely better than others. And then the only way to know what was better than the others was just to play the game a ton until you figured it out because there was no data on it. All right, anyway. So back to the point before, I said 8 Sorcs gives 150 ability power, which is just an absurd amount. And then it also has a secondary property. Abilities reduce the target's damage by 25% for 3 seconds. So it's also a damage debuff anytime a Sorc uses their ability. And like when Zoe is using her ability, she's going to be hitting like most of the enemy team. All right, so we're up against the Cogmall team here. Now, unfortunately, this is the partner of the person who got the big Chem Baron cash out, and they have 2 perfected items, Perfected Virulent Virus and Perfected Executioner's Chain Blade. Those items are like absurdly overtuned in terms of their stats, and that person actually has 2 of them, which they put both of them on their Silco. So They are really, really, really strong now because they got a 600 stack Chem Bearing cash out. So we're like, this is not going to be a lot of fun for us. So at this point, Headwinder decided that he was going to start grabbing Zoe's. And we decided that we would try to have Zoe 3-star as like our backup win condition because it was not clear at all if we could end up winning against a team like that just with like normal setup. Just because, yeah, that Chem Bearing cash out board is like really, really, really strong after they got the 600 stack cash out. The good news is that team is down on low HP, so hopefully the fact that their partner is not as strong gives us a chance to deal with them. Okay, so now Headwinder's gone to level 9. Let's see what he ends up going for here. He still could use, let's see, could do like another Spear of Shojin. I might look for that here, and then try to transform that bow. Okay, he's gonna go for, okay, he opts for more frontline instead. He could do Giant Slayer, which is not terrible here either. Okay, Giant Slayer's certainly not bad. And okay, he goes with the, okay, he does going with the adaptive helm or the Shojin's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, those are not bad Zoe items. I do think that the Spear of Shojin would be a little bit better here. And now he needs to look to try to find a LeBlanc, because LeBlanc is definitely going to be a lot better than Zyra. And there's no 9 sorcerers, so there's no reason to play Zyra over LeBlanc. And then just see what other 4 and 5 costs he can just put on his bench to try to make his board stronger. Anyway, look at how low some of the health in the lobby is getting. 13, 12, 2. So just going by health, it looks like we've kind of got this one in the bag. The problem is some of these other teams are spiking very, very hard as they get low on health here. Anyway, he's grabbing some echoes for me. And for if we get around to the next champion send again. Also has a Savika, but Savika's not really going to make particularly good use of a Sorc emblem, I'd have to say. That's 1/5 cost that's probably not playable with the rest of this board. We also had the gift round here, and I was able to get one of those things from Headwinder. So yeah, we're just kind of chilling for right now. I'm a little surprised he's not rolling this down to 0 gold to try to find some of these other units, but I guess Headwinder was slow playing this a little bit just because we have, I mean, he could play Garen over the extra Rel. I'm not sure that he needs 2 Rels on the board in an 8 Sorc comp. All right, this is kind of the board that Headwinder wanted to play. Like, this person's playing Heavy Academy. I think that they have 6 Academy. Do they have a Jace on their board? I can't tell if they have Jace over there or not, but they're playing Heavy Academy, and you can see the 8 Sorcs just does so much damage. I mean, so much damage. 150 ability power on every Sorc. Pretty ridiculous. It means every single one of their ability does like 2.5 times the default damage of what they normally would be doing. And all right, well, there's LeBlanc. That's pretty nice. Just play that over Zyra. And then Rumble pops up as well. That's the unit I most want. But for the time being, it looks like Headwinder's going to put that unit on his board. And, I mean, hey, you know what he could do? He could actually put a Sorc emblem on Rumble. I mean, 8 Sorc Rumble would be pretty darn good. But anyway, Headwinder went ahead and took the Champion Duplicator for the send round, for the gift round and double up. And he actually has 5, and I sent him a Zoe. So he has 5 Zoes plus a Duplicator right now. So there is definitely the potential to try to hit a Zoe 3-star because no one else is playing this unit. There's no like a rebel player in this lobby. I guess he was trying to econ up to 50 gold and then slow roll there. I guess that makes sense because we do have a lot of health. Like, look at this lobby. We're on 76 health, and then it's 5 HP, 5 HP, and 1 HP. So, like, we'd really like to get this player out of the lobby if we could. This person has a Vertical Dominators board that Headwinder's up against, if I remember correctly. But some of these boards are, like, super duper strong. Anyway, Headwinder can he win this round and knock out this player? Ah, their partner came in at the absolute last second. So yeah, look at who was on their partner's team. Yeah, Twitch 3-star. We were like, wait, what? Twitch 3-star? What? So there's a team on 1 HP that has Twitch 3-star. Yeah. That's kind of scary. That's a little bit scary. You know, one other thing he could do is he could just take like another spellcaster and put the Sorc emblem on them. Like, Malzahar does not really fit on this board, but like you could just take Malzahar, slap him on this board, give him a Sorc emblem, and he'd get 150 ability power. So that's pretty worthwhile to do, I'd have to say. Let's see what Headwinder's going to go for here. I don't know if there's a ton of items he wants. You could take the Nashers. That's not bad. I was very happy to take the Rumble. I was trying to make it to Rumble 2-star here. And I know Headwinder's going to send me his Rumble as soon as he has the champion send up. But yeah, Nashor's Tooth is pretty good. Always a useful item on these spellcasting boards. All right, so he's going to get another Conqueror cash out. He gets an Alawi. which I guess he could. Nah, I don't know that he can really play a Lowy on this board. I'm a little, again, I'm a little surprised that Headwinder's not rolling a little bit more than this. Looks like he's going to put the Nashers on the Nami for the time being. Nami's going to hit really hard with that. Okay, you know what you could also do? You could also play Mordekaiser on this board too. He would also give Conqueror trait if you took out the Rel. You could still maintain Conqueror trait. I have to feel like that would be a pretty good person to put a Sorc emblem on too. So like, I think if you could only have one Sorc emblem, you put it on Elise so that she, again, gives you Form Swapper and Black Rose trait. But I think if you have a second one, Mordekaiser would be pretty nice. And Mordekaiser with 150 AP sounds really nasty. And he does give a little, and you could just like you could literally just put tank items on him and just rely on Sorc trait for all of that. By the way, it looks like this person finally got knocked out. Or is this team on the fake 1 HP? So like, yeah, look at this lobby. Okay, no, never mind. That team did finally get knocked out. So they're out of the lobby, so we don't have to worry about them. But we still have that Chem Baron team with the team that had the 600 stack Chem Baron cash out. Oh, never mind. I guess they took care of things for us. They must have just taken out the... looks like they took out the team that had the 3-star Twitch for us. So it was like, okay. Now, there is finally an Elise in his store here, so I really think the unit that should go in here should be Elise. Never mind, rolled past it. And then, as I said, I like the idea of going for, like, Malzahar. I really think that the Leona and the Rel should come out of this board. There's just much better units that you can put the emblems on. Yeah, like Mordekaiser, I said before. Malzahar would be good. Oh, I see why. Headwinder was waiting. I see what it was. Headwinder was waiting to roll until those players got knocked out because they had a lot of they had a lot of units on their benches. Okay, that's why he was waiting to roll. Now he is up against the Chem Baron cash out player. This person's level 10. They have the double perfected items. Yeah, you can see what happens when you get those gigantic Chem Baron cash outs. It's kind of ugly. And yeah, so not able to win that. I almost was able to beat the Kog'Maw board, but I wasn't quite able to do it enough and fast enough. So we do end up taking a double loss here, which is unfortunate. And then that brings us to the end of stage 5. Oh, by the way, all of this happened on stage 5. We still haven't even made it to stage 6 yet, which is kind of ridiculous to have this much action taking place this early in the game. But that's what happens with these like scuttle puddle lobbies is everything gets accelerated. Because like Sentinel 2 is really doing nothing. I mean, Rel, like, why is Rel on this board? Why is Leona on this board? Move the tank items over to Swain, and then get Elise in there and play another 5 cost who makes good use of AP. And I think that would be a little bit better of a setup than maintaining the Rel and the Leona. But this is, yeah, and like, once again, there's a Mordekaiser. Yeah, I do think you could have made 2-star Mord pretty easily here, or 2-star Mauls. Gone past a lot of them, and they would both make really good use of all that ability power by just slapping them on the board. Mauls even has a MR Shred for his abilities. That would be pretty nice. And there's certainly been no shortages of Mauls there. It's like, come on, Headwinder, you've got 2-star Mauls just sitting there. Move your 150 AP over there. And he went past a couple of Elises too. So I guess just not playing that particular unit. We are still keeping an eye out for the Zoes, though. And let's see, there's room for another one of these items. Adaptive Helm does seem pretty good there. He does have 2 out of 3 LeBlancs. No, he was looking for more Zoes as well. So anyway, he's up against the Kog'Maw player. This is the player we need to beat because this is the player who is the weaker of the two. Yeah. I, of course, got run over by the Chem Baron player, but I was able to stall for a little while because I am playing a heavy scrap board. So I have a whole bunch of shields as a result of scrap, so I was able to stall that player for a little while. All right, and by the way, is on 7 Swains. There's another Zoe, so that gets Headwinder to 6 Zoes, and I believe I actually had a 2-star Zoe sitting on my bench. So between us, we actually have enough Zoes to get Zoe 3-star. We just need the Champion Send to cool down. All right, now Headwinder is up against the Chem Baron cash out player. Still has the 6 Chem Baron in. And they actually have 8 Savikas over there and a 2-star Victor. So we're like, oh my god, 8 out of 9 Savikas, and they have a 2-star Victor. This board is totally out of control. Again, it's because they get immense amounts of gold every time they kill things. But you know what happens? Yeah, it's a 2-player game mode, and I was able to beat the Rumble player, or the Kog'Maw player over there. We were very, very lucky that the Kog'Maw player did not build their front line very well. They did not go for like a heavy Watcher build, which is pretty common. They didn't go for like 6 Watcher. I think they ended up with like 2 Watcher, 2 Dominator, and like nothing was 3-starred, and like their front line just was pretty weak. So we were able to punch through that and kill them, kill the Kog'Maw, and defeat that other board before Mr. Chembear and Cashout came over and murdered us all. So anyway, an 8 Sorcs game. 8 Sorcs is going away in the next patch, as I said, so I'm glad I got the chance to cast it. I think Headwinder didn't have a ton of experience with the late game for this, so it can probably be played a little bit better, but that's why we do these videos, so we can get a chance to see what can be improved next time around. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for providing this footage for me, Headwinder. Until next time, take care, folks, and I'll see you again soon.